All right, everyone, we're back. It's been quite some time right now. Baseball Without Borders. Just counting in on how many episodes that we have done. This is actually the first episode of 2025. Episode 114 was surfaced on December 13th, 2024. Life Skodnik of World Baseball Network was looking to have Karasawa, Yahoo Cosmopolitan's very own, who's very insightful with Nippon Professional Baseball. That is the main major league in Japan. My name is Matthew Tallarini. I'm joined by Julian Goulardi, who's also an on assignment writer for World Baseball Network and is currently doing on-site MLB content with Argentina and Latino sports through the New York based teams. Julian, how does it feel, with today being almost a month away from the All-Star break in Major League Baseball? And what are your concerns about how both either the Mets and the Yankees can pretty much sustain what they got right now, including how good their pitching staffs are coming up into the middle of June?
Well, Matt, it's fun to be back, doing a couple of these. It's been a while, obviously, but we're happy to be back and push forward in the 10. I would definitely say the forefront of concern is shifting more towards the Yankees than to the Mets, in my opinion, because the Mets have Sean Manaea coming back at a closer date. Frankie Montas, who I don't think is as good as Manaea, but it's still an arm. And then the Yankees, like Louis Hill's a long way away. Yarbo showed some cracks in his armor yesterday or Sunday. And then actually that was Saturday, but same thing. So, I think the Yankees have a little more work to do. I think they're both playoff teams, obviously, but as both teams know, and like the fan bases and everything, it's a question of what they're going to do once they reach it October.
Giancarlo Stanton coming back with his rehab assignment on Tuesday, June 10th. We'll let you know when we get this up and continue from other alignments with Giancarlo Stanton's progress in Double A right now. They are playing the Portland Sea Dogs, which is the Double A of the Boston Red Sox
Yep.
organization out in New Jersey. What do you just feel like that Stanley can bring to the lineup? And do you feel like there's a confliction of how quality Ben Rice's at bats are pretty much? I guess we could say his average is kind of so-so, Ben
Yeah.
Rice, but I feel like he gets on base, he works counts. How do you feel like that's been efficient for either the Yankees front office to have a good little bit of a confusion to go about how they want to evaluate John Carlos Stanton once he comes back? And also Aaron Boone, like pretty much marking down his pen, the lineup card, either of the beginning of a 3 game or 4 game series, or pretty much every day into this sequence that Aaron Boone is up against.
Yeah, I think it's going to present some interesting challenges, but when it comes to Giancarlo, I don't think he's going to take too much time to get ready. Like I've been saying, he's not a big rehabber really, and he's only DHing, so I think it's going to be a very short stint. I wouldn't be surprised if he only plays like 3 or 4 games, maybe. I think he'll probably get an off day tomorrow, then maybe like two straight after, and we'll see what they want to do after that. If I had to guess, I think he'll be good when he gets back. Sometimes it takes him a while to shake off the rust, but he's had a lot more time this year. I think he's been hitting for a while on the live machine. I think with Ben Rice, he's shown a lot of good stuff. I think he is coming down a little bit, but like you made some good points. His quality of contact is very high, even if the results don't always show it, like the average, but he hits a lot of hard hit outs and things like that. He does draw his walks, his on base looks good. I think he could be a future hitter for the Yankees, obviously. Now he might be more in a platoon-based situation where he's only hitting against righties and not lefties as much because Stanton and Goldschmidt destroy lefties, as we know.
Yeah, and just going out west for the San Francisco Giants, how do you just feel about what they have to evaluate on a five-time Gold Glove third baseman? Matt Chapman is now on the injured list. He injured his right hand during
Hmm.
the pace of the last few days. How do you just feel about what Matt Chapman brings defensively at the hot corner for San Francisco? And let alone he's batting 243 right now. His OPS is at .812. What do you
Solid.
think about just what they can do down in the minor leagues, who they're going to call up, or probably maybe a light pickup if this goes extensive into the MLB trade deadline? I mean, he already has 12 home runs in his first 65 games this year. Do you think Casey Schmidt is the answer,
Hmm.
or like what do you think is going to be evaluated out in the Bay
Um,
area?
I think Matt Chapman's invaluable to the Giants because like he's an elite defender, obviously. I think his bat is underrated. I think he was the closest to hitting like 30 homers for them recently too, and they haven't had that since the Barry Bonds days. They're still waiting for that 30 home run hitter. Maybe he could have done it this year without the injury. He was kind of close. 12 around the All-Star break could have been doable. We don't know how long he's going to be out, obviously. It's definitely a big blow on offense and defense for the Giants because whoever they put at third base is not going to play as great at third base as Matt Chapman does. In terms of like production replacements, I mean Bailey is an option. I would say. I wonder if they take another look at Luciano, who's kind of been up and down with them. I wonder if they try to move him in the shortstop and put some, maybe have Adamas play third or something. I wonder if they would explore something like that. Adamas needs to pick it up too. I think now is the time where they need to see what they paid for Willie Adamas too. I think that's the best solution to the question because he hasn't been hitting that well and he's making a lot of money.
I mean, they're 38 and 28. They're a game and a half back of the Los Angeles first place Los Angeles Dodgers. They're at 40 and 27. Do you feel that with the Giants pitching, and I just think that Bob Melvin has done
He's
what
really
he
good.
can do for a roster that has been put up this year. Do you think even with how their depth chart is situated, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Landon Rowe, Hayden Birdsong, Kyle Harrison, and then now that you have Justin Verlander on the 15-day injured list,
Yeah.
how do you feel like what Bob Melvin has to execute around? And then if, let's say Verlander comes back, his right pectoral soreness. He was landed on the 15-day IL on May 22nd.
For
Do
a
you think
while.
this affects a lot of what that pitching staff can make up room for? I mean, for a 42-year-old, nonetheless, let's say for
Yeah.
this, Verlander is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think we agree. I
Hmm.
think he's probably the last pitcher to really, on hindsight, get near to 300 wins.
That's a good point.
I
Yeah.
don't think that
He's not gonna get it.
Verlander will get to 300 wins,
Hmm.
but you know, we're nearing towards our late preteens, early teenage stages of how we saw a guy like Verlander, we saw a
Yeah.
guy like Clayton Kershaw blossom at the major league level at a very young age. Do you think this is the last of what we see of Verlander if he can come back and help the Giants either win the National League West or get to a wild card positioning into late September and early October?
I have to tell you, honestly speaking, I had the Giants as a fourth place team coming into the year, so I am surprised at what I'm seeing. I thought the Padres and Diamondbacks would be better than them. The Diamondbacks have not looked good. They're going toe to toe with the Padres, which is really impressive. Even the Dodgers, like you mentioned, can they hold this up fully? I'm not sure, but I do think they put themselves in position to be a playoff team, and I'm going to give them the respect they've deserved so far based on what I've seen so far that they will be a playoff team. Just a question of what spot they slot into. So for their pitching staff, Verlander to me, he's more valuable to them as like a mentor and a coach type figure. And they even mentioned this stuff in spring training, I think. Like the guys are learning a lot from Justin Verlander because he knows so much. And the thing about the 262 wins he had coming into the season is very interesting talking point there. I don't know if we'll ever see someone get past that again because I don't think Kershaw is that close right now either in his wins, although he's obviously a first ballot as well. Max Scherzer would be the third arm in that category, who's also getting towards the end. I'm not exactly sure what his win total is, but I know it's under Verlander's. So, and he's really injury prone too at this point. So I think Justin has anything left to offer this year. I mean, we'll see. But I feel like the writing's on the wall for this. It has been for a few years now. He's just against time at this point. I can't see him playing again after this year, regardless of what happens. I know he wants to chase the 300 wins, but it's just not there for him anymore.
Going to the young guns right now, Roman Anthony, number one prospect in all of baseball. I know you have seen Roman Anthony progress when you covered certain AA games
Yeah.
in Somerset. How do you just feel what Roman Anthony had did at Portland transition to his game at the AAA level with Worcester. How do you feel like he can benefit at the major league level and possibly maybe either what direction the Red Sox are going to? Because I don't think it's a rebuild in our disguise. I think it's more of we got to resettle ourselves right before July hits. If we don't
Yeah,
resettle ourselves
then
and come together as a team, certain homestands or what other long trips they might
yeah.
have before the All-Star break and division play. How do you feel that Roman Anthony can be a key contribute to this offense with Willie Abreu, that's now on the injured list?
I think Roman Anthony's an incredible player, honestly. You saw the 500-foot bomb he hit that thing kind of seals his fate for the
497, but yeah, close.
I rounded up because it
But 497
I
is
rounded up because it
that
was
now gap.
I rounded up because it was really impressive. So I gave him the extra 3 feet there. Um, I think that kind of finally pushed the Red Sox forward. If they needed more motivation with a sinking schedule results and like how well the kid is playing, it's just a clunky roster fit. To your point, the second part is more of the problem. It's not Roman Anthony. He's a great player. They have too many position players in the infield and the outfield. They have some bad contracts like Yoshida, who hasn't even played yet. I don't even know what his role is on this team. There doesn't seem to be any spot for him. And then you look at Trevor Story's contract, which is an albatross at this point, even though he's starting to play a little bit better. And then Devers doesn't want to not be a DH. Is he going to finally play first base or something? I don't know. That's a whole disaster. And then Alex Bregman's injured, and that's what got Marcelo Mayer up. So does he survive when Bregman returns? Like, they have so many clunky parts here and like so much disfiguration. No one seems to know what their role is. Like, I don't think the locker room, like with the Devers situation's in a phenomenal spot. But to your point, in terms of competing this year in a retool or a rebuild, I don't think it's a rebuild either because you see what they have in the pipeline, obviously, with Christian Campbell too. But it has
Mhm.
to be some type of reset to like figure out how they're gonna line everyone up because like there's too many players right now and not enough spots. I think Jared Duran is a guy that might be expendable, even though he shouldn't be, but they just need to open up space somewhere and they could get a lot in return for him. So is that a trade they try to execute if they don't start playing better? Rafaela signs a team-friendly deal, so I don't think he's going anywhere, although he could be a trade candidate too, maybe because of that. So like they have a lot of things to figure out. They didn't play well last night either. Another extra inning loss, even though they beat the Yankees in the series. They're like 9 out of the division, I think. Wild card maybe like five-ish or so, if I had to gauge it right now, it's somewhere in that range. Because the Rays and Blue Jays are four behind the Yankees, so and that's two wild card spots, I think. So that's how it's looking right now. And the AL Central has a bunch of teams behind the Tigers fighting for wild cards. The West a little bit too, so it's a lot of teams.
Wanted to work our way to the middle of the country. Omaha, Nebraska,
All right.
College World Series, NCAA Division One. Right now, the landscape is just folding, Julian. I mean, you got 8 programs that are new that weren't there last year, right? You had four half right down the middle with the ACC and SEC last year, and
Yep,
now, I
yep.
mean, the programs that are now in Oregon State being the first independent program since the University of Miami in 2004 to make it
Wow.
to Omaha. Um, I think it's a lot of props of what I see for head coach Mitch because I think Long Beach State they really had to win that series May 17th. And I mean this with, when you don't play a conference tournament and you brought the brooms out against Long Beach State in Corvallis on your home turf, and then going up against St. Mary's in your region, you lose the first game 6-4. So I feel that what they had to do, Julian, there to beat TCU by 5 runs, they won 7-2 on May 31st in the Corvallis Regional. Beat St. Mary's 20-3 on June 1st. Still in their Corvallis Regional. Their old foes, the USC Trojans, they beat 14-1. And then following on June 2nd, they shut out the Trojans of USC 9-0. How do you just feel about what Oregon State could do to reach history? And I think the other programs that are in this, you got Coastal Carolina, Murray State making their first appearance, reinvert back to the Coastal Carolina program. They went, they won the College World Series in 2016. That was their lone appearance at the Schwab, let alone. how do you feel about these programs that are going up against like the Louisvilles, the LSU's, the Arkansas, the UCLA's? I mean, there's a lot of competition. I feel like even the Arizonas too that can
Hmm.
fold into what we're seeing or what we're gonna see come Friday. I mean, that's when first pitch happens. How do you
Yep.
just feel about the landscape of where college baseball is now, or fans that want to still get into it to give a little flavor about where we are in the country in the Northeast?
I have to say, this bracket is incredible right now. I don't think I've never seen a more unlikely pairing than what we're seeing this year with all these teams in it. Murray State beating Duke, and Duke is wild, and Chris Pollard now going to Virginia on a sidebar is really crazy too. Really good manager for Duke. And then Murray State beats them. Arkansas is a powerhouse. LSU is a powerhouse. UCLA has traditionally been good at baseball too. Louisville, I don't know if you want to call it an upset, but they did beat Miami, so that was noteworthy. Oregon State is interesting because they're independent, but they had a lot of Pac-12 experience, and Travis Bazzano is obviously highly touted from there. They've had talent. Arizona is a
Fun.
school that's
Yeah.
traditionally been good at college baseball too, although they didn't make it to Omaha last year. And then Coastal, like you said, had that win when they made it back in like
2016, yeah.
2016. Yeah. So I
Beat them
mean,
in the Big South.
you
Yeah.
have a lot of teams that are traditionally good, but you also have some new arrivals like from last year that weren't here this year. It's like I don't even know who to pick. Like it's almost anyone's game, honestly. Like it's like a free for all. I think it's gonna be really fascinating to see what happens. A lot of teams like Murray State are playing with house money too.
Jonathan Hogard, yo, so like that's another thing. Like what Jonathan has put up in his numbers. I mean, 22 home runs, 65 RBIs. He's played in 59 games. He's hitting 339.
That's crazy.
And like what he's been doing with the 1.162 OPS, I just feel like he can lead this offense. And guys that even are chunking in right now, Dom Decker, Dustin Mercer. I mean, you got Decker batting 361, Mercer's batting 356. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Murray State beat UCLA on Saturday because I feel like Savage, what he's got to go out with his pitching staff for the Bruins, I just feel like there's a lot of different insight that he's got to build around. And like, to pick up everything on Arkansas, Arkansas has never won a national title. So I think, is the pressure really on Arkansas because they're the lone dog of the SEC that
Hmm.
cannot get the monkey off their back, like the Vanderbilts, the LSU's,
Tennessee's,
the
yeah.
Floridas, Knoxville's, obviously University of Tennessee's.
Yeah.
So I just feel that Arkansas, you don't win this year. It's just going to be a tough offseason.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good offseason with how the transfer portal is going to shape up because of
Right.
what your recruiting could align with certain guys that are coming from a top JUCO in the country, maybe a top NAIA program that they're going to go that route with in some eligibility purposes. When other players they want to scout prior into fall ball of this upcoming fall semester. So I just feel that Arkansas, if they don't win, it's just a tough call for. I feel like with Dave Van Horn's been there for 23 years, and when you have a different window in college baseball for that long time, I just feel like you got to question yourself:
Yeah.
is the monkey off your back ever going to happen to hoist the national championship at the Schwab? And being in the SEC, we know it just means more. But
Hmm.
with that being said, the road to Omaha, did it start from the fall? Did it start to when you got hot at some point of the season, or did it start in Hoover? And I think that's Arkansas's biggest test right now, going up against LSU this upcoming weekend. And I just, like, let's just take a roll at MLB Pipeline. I mean, like, we can sit here and talk all day about what we think these programs are going to do, Julian, but MLB Pipeline draft prospects to roll out for, the programs that are left in the College World Series. Cade Anderson, 20-year-old out of LSU. I mean, man, he's projected to go third. And I just think that what Cade Anderson's probably going to do in his first start of the College World Series, um, he's going to dominate. I think he knows, you know, his mechanics. He's sitting between 92 and 94. He can touch 97 miles per hour with his fastball. He had Tommy John in April of 2022
Hmm.
when he missed his senior year of high school
Got it.
in Louisiana prior to committing onto the canvas of Baton Rouge. I just think that Kate Anderson could help the Bayou Bengals win a national championship this year, and him being projected at 3, Julian, that says a lot to where his draft stock can lift in this College World Series with many eyes around the country and world that are focused on him, or what can, just approach for what he can do at the major league level. I think he is capable, Kate Anderson, to really evolve in a 2-year system, whichever organization takes him. And yeah, it should be interesting. And then, Avia Arquette, shortstop out of Oregon State, 21-year-old
Yep.
right-handed hitter. I mean, the scouting grades say for a little bit of his sample size, Hawaiian prep standout, um, scouting grades that everybody percentiles, whatever how you judge from. His hit slashes at 50, powers at 55, runners at 50, arms at 60, fields at 50, overalls at 55 to the coordinates of a 5 tool angle of what they're looking at in the draft. I just think that do you think that even the Arizona Diamondbacks, they took him in the 2022 draft after the round of 18, but he decided to go to the University of Washington,
Hmm.
play a few years, then transfer down Interstate 5 to Oregon State. How do you just feel about Ivy Arquette, with what he can do to help around Oregon State pretty much?
I think he's really good, and he had big shoes to fill with Travis Pisano leaving. I think he's done an excellent job too. Think about all the pressure he had to come in to replace Pisano's production, and he did a good job with that. I remember writing about him before the season. I think I think either best players or like transfers or something. But we wrote something on him, and I remember doing some homework on him. And I was definitely impressed with what I saw. And he's definitely refined his draft status. He's obviously going to be a first rounder now, you would think. His OPS is 1124, 18 bombs, 65 RBI, 7 stolen bases. So he does everything well. I think he's going to have a good tournament. I do like Kate Anderson too. He's passed Jamie Arnold on the rankings, which I think is interesting. So we'll see how other teams feel about that. Because Arnold was very good. I saw him pitch in the ACC last year too. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent on display in Omaha, and a lot of those guys are going to end up being first rounders. Some of them will go later in the draft, and they're still going to be pretty good.
Yeah, so to round out a little bit, because I know we're a little bit short on time,
Hmm.
just for a couple of certain guys that, are playing in Omaha. Brendan Summerhill out of the University of Arizona. I think Chip Hale has done a great job developing him as a 5 tool player. I think that, Brendan Summerhill can play, in a system where he's gonna sit 3 years. I think that he could blossom right away at the major league level. But I just think that,
It's so
there's just
tough.
a lot of different angles that the Wildcats want to evaluate with him, and whichever MLB organization works towards him. Yes, he got hurt this year. He won't play in the College World Series. He has played 42 games already in this season. He made 41 starts on the shelf right now, but I think that doesn't hold his draft stock like to a low degree. What do you think Brendan Summerhill will do? Just like to make it out of everything with his injury update. I mean, that's how I see, like, you fractured your right hand on April 26th in a doubleheader against Texas Tech. Do you think that Summerhill can maintain his health? If whatever team shuts him down, does a lot of simulation action, probably in the complex level, do you think Brendan Summerhill can play in Major League Baseball with a 3-year window, depending on how his injury holds out?
Yeah, I do. I mean, 3 years is like a good time for these kids. I feel like, when the Yankees draft their first rounders, it even takes them 3 years sometimes. And I don't know if he's going to be as highly touted as like a Volpe or George Lombard Jr., who might be accelerated compared to other players. But like, I think that they're gonna have to be patient with him, especially with the injury. I think it's like MLB is so tough to know how quick someone's gonna be ready. A lot of times it takes like 3 to 5 years for like a normal prospect to even see the show after they get drafted. So if you're factoring in an injury as well, then you probably have to add more time to that. But he has a lot of talent, so 3 years is probably reasonable, depending on where he ends up, like the needs and like how they feel he's progressing. But I think he'll still be solid. Another interesting question I have for you is like, do you feel like Holiday's actually the first pick? I think it's just because of his namesake that he's going to be
Well,
first
like,
overall.
yeah, like overall, and I didn't mean to cut, forth with your last few words. I just think that, like the competition between high school and division, like
It's
depending on like
wide.
where you
Yeah,
are in
it's
the
wide.
regional,
It's
it's night
wide.
and day. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's not even like it's not even a comparison, but like the competition that he probably faced in Oklahoma,
it's
what's the
good.
degree of it that it sits to like, Texas high school competition in the middle of Texas or South Texas, Arizona, Southern California, Florida, the hotbeds. I just feel that I'm not sold until I see
It's
more
fair.
framework
Yeah.
of that individual athlete and what's in between the lines as a ball player. So
Yeah, I feel
for
you on
me,
that.
for me to think Ethan Holiday is number one, I think any analyst or any other journalist would say, well, can he be a 5 tool player as a minor leaguer?
Maybe.
So he's going to be offered a chunk of money, 8 to 10 million, maybe above that, maybe what the overslot is, to what we're seeing in the draft, and
Yeah.
to MLB draft picks now that we're going to go in hindsight come Atlanta on July 12th. July 13th actually is the
Uh,
first day of the MLB draft.
Basically a
Yeah,
month. Yeah, it's like a
uh,
month. Yeah, 30
it's right
days
around the
basically.
corner.
Yep.
So, I mean, we got the draft order right here. Ethan
Yeah,
Holiday is a Washington National.
I would
Do
think
you
so.
see that? Or
Probably. Probably, I think. I don't know if that's the right pick, but I think that will be the pick. I mean, you have to. The thing is, he has the baseball pedigree. He has good fundamentals. He's learned from Jackson and Matt and everything. So, like, like the basis to be good's all going to be there because, like, he has the skills, he has the mindset. Like, it's been embedded into his brain since he's been walking, probably. So, you just have to see how does he compare to the other two, I guess. And, like, I don't know if I would take him first overall, but I feel like that's what's going to end up happening, probably.
Yeah, I honestly think even a guy like I was gonna cut off there because I like the last player that I even had to look at for the College World Series, Weha Aloy, I think can be a better player than Ethan Holiday.
Yeah,
And it's just like, all
it's
right,
possible.
Ethan Holiday is 6'4", 210, 18-year-old senior out of Stillwater High School. He's obviously not gonna go to college
Nope.
unless NIL money now is in the bigger picture, but you're the number one pick. You're
Yeah, it
gonna take
doesn't
a
matter.
professional,
Yeah,
you're gonna take a professional contract right away. But I
100%.
just feel like whoever picks up, Weha Aloy, Weiwa Aloy out of Hawaii, based right now with the Razorbacks. Razorbacks going up against the Bayou Bengals on Friday. I just feel like when you play baseball for this amount of time, and in college you playing 60 plus games, 70 games, if you count the conference tournaments and then how far you get into the regionals, the super regionals, and now this is the last stage, you're playing a lot of more baseball competitively than even some high school programs that either even start mid-February in the South and then gain around what they're seeing by like the beginning of May, when most public schools, in Florida, Mississippi, and certain other southern schools and West Coast schools, like they're ending that time frame rather than up where we are, in the New York tri-state area. I just feel that, I can't see Ethan Holiday working his way up as heavily because
It's fair.
I just feel if you were as good as how what Dylan Cruz was 2 years ago, you could see what, like are the Nationals really planning on if they wanted to draft him and sign him, Ethan Holiday meaning, are the Nationals planning on giving him a longer program? Yes, because he hasn't faced professional pitching or pitching that was standard at the D1 level to what he could get adjusted to going into minor league baseball. So I feel like that's a 4 year period easily to like develop somebody. There's no way
Yeah.
I mean, if he's hitting above 300, he eats the words up for anybody else. But I just think that you can't really, move that direction of what the Nationals want because I just feel like are they rebuilding or are the Marlins in their division per se are the ones that are really the bottom feeders. Yeah, so just about like what Ethan Holiday could do, I just feel like there's just a situation that what do the Nationals really want to accomplish if they see a future with a guy like Ethan Holiday? I mean, I just feel that, in their pipeline and what other angles do you feel like the Nationals are going to go for in this, Julian? I just feel like they got a guy like Travis Sikora, um, who's their number one prospect at the high level, but his estimated time frame is in 2027.
Mhm.
Jarlin Susana at the Double A level, like his eligibility time frame is in 2026. Is Ethan Holiday going to really step up to surpass a lot of key guys in this organization? I just feel like
Hmm.
Robert Hassel III being at number 11,
Yeah.
number 10, Caden Wallace. I just feel like a lot of these guys could have more of a stack frame to either be with the Nationals, either in the next few seasons, whether their time is committed to, or like what just holds for them. Like, what do you think about what Ethan Holiday could do, in his next few years in the minor leagues?
Think another guy that's in that mix too is Brady House. Could ends up being their third baseman. It's another prospect the Nationals have. Their infield picture is kind of murky because CJ Abrams is still there too. Do they think Abrams fits their window? Do they try to trade him? Like if they got Ethan Holiday eventually, like that's another story. I mean, they might be better served to getting some pitching too, and there's a lot of good pitching prospects. I feel like their pitching department's very much lacking too. They could use some help in the outfield, I would say, besides James Wood. And then the young center field's a good defender, but I don't know how much he hits really. Um, so like it's definitely questionable. I feel like Ethan Holiday, if he's as good as people think, it should only take him 2 years to get through the minors probably, and he'll make his debut at 20 or 21. If he's that good and he's the first overall pick, that's what should happen. But if he's not, then like it'll be 3 years, 4 years, and then we'll see what he ends up becoming. But there's definitely a lot of different angles Nationals can go through. I don't think they're as far off as the Marlins. I think they're closer to competing than not competing. They just need a few more pieces to help refine some stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like trying to turn the window a little bit, focus on our last segment here. Copa America de Baseball is happening in November, this upcoming next few months. And that being a World Baseball Softball Confederation of America's event does have effect on some of the teams in the WBFC America sector that are participating in this event. No, we will not see other, MLB players playing in this type of tournament, come November. Where do you just feel about where the winter leagues are growing now, Julian, and also the World Baseball Softball Confederation America sector having like a Premier 12 format that, it's kind of interesting to see like Curacao, right? They could be a sleeper team with so many other guys that are going to play for the Netherlands
Yeah,
in the World Baseball Classic in 2026. Brazil confirmed that they're going to go to this tournament in November, but they're going to have a similar roster what they're going to have in Houston at Dyken Park in March, and they're going to go up against tough major league competition. Mexico, the United States, Italy will have probably a few key major league guys,
definitely.
minor league guys on their team from manager Francisco Cervelli. And Great Britain, they might be a scrappy team
They're
with
getting
some
better.
minor league guys, maybe a few MLB guys will come out to say they want to play for Great Britain. Do you feel that Brazil playing in the Copa America de Baseball event in November is a tournament that is going to prep them for the World Baseball Classic? Because they might
Hmm.
not have as many players play in the winter leagues this upcoming year unless they're in Venezuela
Hmm.
or Mexico with certain teams. Are some going to play in the DR or in Puerto Rico? So I feel like it's a bit of an evaluation of what's going to happen with Brazil in the next few months. What are your thoughts about Brazil in international competition for this upcoming World Baseball Classic?
Well, I think it's really cool that Bo and Dante are going to play for them, so that'll be really interesting. And we haven't seen Dante in a professional setting in a while, so I don't even know how much left he really has to offer, or if he's playing in another league somewhere else. We haven't seen him like in the major league standpoint in a long time. Bo will be cool, obviously, to see him play on that stage. I don't know how much it's going to prep them because, to your point, like you're still missing a lot of the top teams, and it's not going to be exactly the same as what they're going to see in March in Houston and everything. But I think it's a good test for them that we see like a litmus test to see like how they could do against some similar competition. I think it's worth them doing. And the Great Britain, the interesting thing is Jazz Chisholm could technically play for them. I don't know if he actually would, but and then Drew Spencer's with the Yankees, so I wonder if he's talked to Jazz about doing that behind the scenes. That might be an interesting tidbit to look out for. But we'll see if that comes to fruition. Great Britain was definitely scrappy last WBC. They definitely did surprise me a little bit. So it will be cool to see what they could put together. You know, Harry Ford, a guy like you kind of mentioned, is a young prospect that Britain has, is a very good player potentially. They have a few guys that might be interesting. I think this WBC is going to be the best one yet. I think you're going to see a more even playing field than you saw in other versions. And I think every game is going to be close, and you can't take anyone for granted.
Yeah, and I wanted to mainly focus on these last few minutes about the venues because I feel like Estadio Mariano Rivera in La Torreya, Panama, it's right outside of Panama City. It's not as far, but just a stadium that fits 10,000 fans in attendance is going to
Hmm.
have an international baseball senior event, by the way, might have minor leaguers with some of the
Interesting.
powerhouse countries, might have all 40-man guys, current free agents that are currently looking for a home.
Hmm.
But in Group A at Estadio Mariano Rivera, Brazil's going to play in that. And Curacao, like we just mentioned, is going to play in that.
They're good too.
Also, in the tournament itself, they're the number 12 ranked in the WBSC America sector. Colombia is coming up with prospects. They might, Colombia too, Julian,
It's
that might
another
be
team.
a warm up of some guys too that are going to be roster evaluation angles for that World Baseball Classic. And that
Yeah.
field that they're playing at Hiram Bethorn Stadium in San Juan, Puerto Rico, it's going to be tough. You got Panama, host nation Puerto Rico, Cuba, Canada. For Colombia to be in that field, I was more into what if they had played in Pool D. What was the favorable angle for them to go up against the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and also countries like Israel and the Netherlands that could be interesting for Colombia if they were in Miami for this upcoming World Baseball Classic. Venezuela, Panama, you know, same angles of what guys in their spring and summer leagues, Liga de Baseball Mayor Profesional, that's just underway in Venezuela. Panama just ended their baseball campeonato Mayor season two. What do you just feel about what Group A is? And then for Group B, that's going to be played at Estadio El Nido de los Aguilas, where the Caribbean Series was a few months ago, the 2025 Caribbean Series. So Mexico's playing in Group B, United States, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Nicaragua, Canada. Fulfill your answer with those two groups that are going to be in Group A with Estadio Mariano Rivera and Estadio El Nido de los Aguilas for Group B.
Well,
Um,
Co well, Curacao was a team worth mentioning too. Like as you said, they've been getting a lot better. And then when you flip to the WBC, the Netherlands is always formidable too. A lot of similar guys play on that, obviously, for several different reasons. And then Colombia, like you said, is coming up. They kind of disappointed me the last WBC, and I was surprised they had to qualify again because like they didn't have a good showing, but they did requalify. I definitely thought they could have been better. I think they probably need a little more high-end talent, but it is coming. They're getting more prospects to play for them now. I'm sure Jose Quintana is going to run it back too, as his MLB career is kind of dwindling a little bit.
Michael
Um,
Arroyo,
that's a
Michael
good one.
Arroyo for the
That's
Mariners coming up,
that's a
working
good
his way
one.
into Tacoma.
That
Um, yeah.
So I think like all these teams, it's going to be tough. I mean, the Panama situation is interesting to have that low of a setting for such a highly touted international competition of only 10,000 people, but then the Gilas is like more than that, I think. It's just it's going to be interesting to see how this all goes. And then like we were talking about the competition in Puerto Rico too, down the line like in February to kind of prep for the WBC also. So that'll be interesting too. I feel like any team that faces the Dominican Republic is kind of at a disadvantage in most situations, I think, because they just have so much talent.
Venezuela not
Then
having
Denny's
Pablo
up there
Lopez.
too.
If they don't have Pablo Lopez with his injury, I mean,
That's a big problem.
that's a big problem because he
Yeah,
eats a majority of your innings
he's their
and
ace.
and playing in Miami, that's a home crowd
Yeah,
for Venezuelan fans because of, the population of 300,000 Venezuelans that live in Miami in the metro area. So definitely a case to work for, or could see through these next few months. Julian, this has been an awesome episode, man. Glad we could, work through things on having this episode today. It's been great. And yeah, appreciate it a lot, my man. Man, sorting it out, smoking inside, like Scott Nick would say, this has been a great, um, you know, top end episode of World Baseball Network, and looking forward to more episodes in the next, few days or whatever we have in our schedule, and probably next week. So catch us sometime soon, everybody. Go check out World Baseball Network. Website is worldbaseball.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. So go check us out on all social media platforms. And yeah, look forward to the next episode, Julian, for sure.
thanks, Matt, and we'll have a good one here.